Hello, Pilates teachers in training. This is your video. I want you to practice this on your own at least once per week. I'm hoping that we'll familiarize ourselves with this work enough that you'll be able to lead others through this particular class choreography in the not so distant future. But right now, let's just focus on getting this in our bodies, getting confident with these specific exercises, and just practicing our principles along the way. We want to begin in neutral pelvis. That means we're resting on the bottom of the sacral triangle with the pubic bone and the hip points level. We want the balls of the feet pressing on the front surface of the foot bar, the heels together, the toes apart. The balls of the feet are only open maybe 2 inches. It's not a big span open with the feet. It's pretty moderate. And the knees are not splayed wide open either. They're only about shoulder distance apart. A rule of thumb is that the knee and the second toe, right, should be matching, and the hip alignment should be matching the knees. We're going to return to that concept again and again, because sometimes we'll have the feet really turned out or the knees really turned out, but the hips are not matching, right? So we always want to be looking and checking in with our lines in our bodies to see if they are cooperating with each other. So resting on the bottom of the sacrum, we're in neutral pelvis. Nice long spine. And we're going to begin with 6 repetitions of each one of these foot positions. So let's exhale back and inhale down. Good. Then we'll come to toes wrapping over the bar. It's not just the toes, it's the whole foot. That's getting a nice stretch, so you're opening up through those bones of the feet. The heels stay low, and the top of the foot is reaching over the bar. We're going to press back, exhaling. Very good. Then we'll transition into a high-heeled shoe. Standing in the balls of the feet, we want to make sure that we're on that deep base of the big toe especially. Sometimes the ankles try to splay out and wing out. We don't want that to happen when we're doing these high-heeled shoes. We want to build strong ankles that are very stable. Let's press back, exhaling. Lowering and lifting, good. Building up to a set of 4. Next time 3. And finishing up with a set of 4. And 3, and 2, and 1. Very good. Next, we will take a wide stance on the bar. And again, watching to see that the angle of the ankle, the knee, and the hip are matching. It's very important. And this is a place where often the feet will be turned out more so than the knees, or perhaps the pelvis didn't respond in opening up to the degree that the knee is open. So we want to watch for that. Be on the lookout. Resting on the bottom of the sacral triangle, pubic bone, hip points level with one another. Drawing the belly in, zipping up the midline. Let's press back. Good. Then we're going to lean on the instep of the foot. The knees are coming together. The sitting bones swing open a little bit. we're still level in the pubic bone and the hip points. The hip points, the ASIS, are now turned in a little bit because, as we said before, the knee, the hip, and the ankle should all be mimicking one another. And in fact, as we become increasingly connected, you'll even find that your lower ribs do the same action as whatever's going on in the hip and the knee and the ankle as well. We want the upper body and the lower body to be mimicking one another. So let's press back here and turn in for 6. Good. Then we'll circle, watching the hips to see that the hips are circling with the knees and with the ankles, watching the ribs for the same thing. Pressing back and turn in, and coming down and turn out for 5 and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Switch directions. Press back and turn out, and come down and turn in. Back and turn out, and down and turn in. 4 and 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Then we're going to come to the arches of the feet pressing near the middle of the bar, but about hip distance apart. And by hip distance apart, I mean the center of the hip joint, not the outer portion of your buttocks. Sometimes when we say hip distance apart, that's what people hear. It's really not. We want to be with the joint itself, that inner width. Let's lengthen out, make space between the rib cage and the pelvis first, before coming into a completely imprinted spine. In addition to lengthening the spine and pressing it down and taking out that lordotic curve, kind of flattening out a little bit through the kyphotic curve as well, we want to find width in the back. Let's press back for 8 and 7, 6 and 5, 4 and 3, 2 and 1. Then we'll release back to neutral pelvis, back to neutral spine. Come into a high-heeled shoe, standing firmly into the base of the big toe. And let's press back and do running, dropping one heel and then the other. All the while, the pelvis should stay level, pubic bone and hip points on one plane, still resting on the flat part of the bottom of the sacrum, without a lot of movement up and down or side to side in the pelvis. Last repetition here. And drop both heels under the bar. Watching out for any tendency you may have to hyperextend the knees here. This is a no-no, right? We want to keep a clean line from the knee through the heel and the ankle and into the core of the pelvis. That doesn't mean that we want a bent knee. And I know that some of you are really working on finding that middle place. Continue to work on it. Continue to work on it. But don't become so afraid of hyperextending that you create a new tension cycle around your knee. An overcorrection. Let's come all the way down. Then we're going to change the spring weight for a bit of single leg work. We'll go down to 2 red springs. Then take it into single leg work. We'll start with the right foot in a high heel shoe. If for any reason your ankles are tiring of being in the high heel shoe, if you feel like you'd be steadier with the back arch of the foot, you can always make adjustments in the single leg work that suit where your body is right now or day by day. You can come to an imprint in the spine here if that helps you maintain stability in the core. Probably wise to do so when we're beginning, anytime that we don't have both feet attached to the bar or to the floor or to a surface, coming into an imprinted spine. We're going to bring the left leg to tabletop. Let's begin with just tabletop, pressing back for 5 and 4, 3 and 2 and 1. Good. And switching sides. Left foot in a high heel shoe, nice and deep in the belly, level in the back body. Let's bring the leg up into tabletop and press back for 5 and 4, 3 and 2. Last time. And we'll switch back. Coming into left foot in tabletop, right foot in the high heel shoe, we'll go into can-can. We're not trying to increase the hip flexion as we do this. So when we straighten the left leg, and you might practice first, we're not pulling the left thigh any closer to us, right? We also shouldn't be developing a lot of tension here in the hip flexor. We're going to feel some things working, but we shouldn't be hiking up the outer hip and thigh. I'll show you on the right side. We want this area to stay pretty steady. This is wrapping more toward the foot bar on the outside. Sometimes when people do this, they go to straighten the leg and they pull in with the leg and they hike up on the outer hip and thigh. We really want to avoid building those sorts of habits into our can-can. We want to keep it smooth and steady, coming straight out of the core. Let's start with the left leg in tabletop. We're going to do 5 repetitions of can-can here. For 5 and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then we'll switch legs. Bring the right leg into tabletop and press back for 5 and 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. All right. Then we will move on to C-curve. We'll reach back and grab the hand straps, holding by the short loops first. We have a general start position for all arm strap work, and that is with the hands up toward the ceiling, long arms, at the level of the chest. We don't want to have the shoulders pulled so far back toward the table that we're pinching in the shoulders and sticking the rib cage up and the chest up. We also don't want to have them so far up toward the ceiling that we're hunched in the chest. So sometimes when we first go into those hand straps, it's a good idea to just play the edges of that, to do some lift and some squeeze, and then find the middle, head of the arm bone set in the middle of the joint space. The rib cage is still on, align with the pelvis, nice deep belly, and we'll bring the legs up into tabletop. Inhaling to prepare, and exhale, come up, C-curve. We're looking to hold the C curve for 5 breaths. And then we'll come all the way back down. There are many, many, many varieties of C-curve exercises that you can do. But for the purposes of this practice, we're just going to do one more. And that is bringing the legs out into Pilates V, extended leg position, and we'll practice the 100. That active, percussive breath that really gets the oxygen flowing and encourages you to go deep into all of your abdominals. We'll begin with the arms up toward the ceiling, getting us set in the joint space, feeling that depth in the abdomen already. Legs into diamond-shaped tabletop. Inhaling to prepare and exhaling up and out. Then we're going to beat the arms to the rhythm of our breath. Breathing in for 5 and out for 5 for 10 rounds. It down. Good. Now, if you didn't make it through 10 rounds, don't worry about it. There will be days where 10 rounds feel doable. There will be days when they do not feel doable. You have to honor your body. The 100 is a very traditional Pilates exercise. It does not work for everyone. That percussive breath, there's a variety of reasons why people might struggle with it. So you have to honor your body day by day and the bodies of your students by starting to realize when that's appropriate and when that's just asking too much. Before we change the arm strap weight, we're going to do book. For book, your spine is like the spine of a book. And we want to feel the midline, connect to the midline all the way down your body from the center of your forehead all the way through, all the way through. We'll bring the legs up and then open and close. Inhale to open, exhale to close. Very good. Next, we'll change the spring weight down for the lats and abs series. In class, we often do the lats and abs series on either a red and a blue spring, a red and a yellow spring, or one red spring. Again, it's about honoring your body. Today I'm going to go a little lighter with my spring weight in order to focus on the details of the alignment and not feel like I'm straining against the extra weight. I have done more than a red and a blue. I have done less. The spring weight is relative to what's going on with you in your body and what your goals are for that day. We're going to begin the lats and abs series with letter I. We still have that traditional start position with the arms up toward the ceiling. We want to drop in through the belly, ensuring that the ribs are not popped up toward the ceiling. And then we'll bring the legs up into tabletop. And we'll do 6 repetitions of taking the arms down and up. Then we'll work with letter Y. Traditional start position again. It's the most stable place to enter tabletop with the legs. So we're always beginning from here. Centering the head and neck, centering the spine, dropping the ribs in. We'll bring the legs into tabletop. Open to that 45-degree angle and pull the hands down by the hips and right back up. When the hands come down, we want to feel the work sliding down the side bodies. When the hands come back up, we'll have to work to keep the shoulders from coming up too. We want the shoulders to feel like they're being drawn down toward the hips as the hands come up. Let's do one more repetition here. And rest. Next we'll come into a letter T. The arms begin in that same start position, getting centered with the arm bones, getting centered, making sure the rib cage isn't popped up, that it is on the same plane as the rim of the pelvis. We feel the core engaged already. Then we'll pick the legs up into tabletop. We'll bring the hands down by the hips. Turn the hands to face the body. Open the arms and bring them back down. Sort of like making snow angels, but we're keeping the hands coming no higher than about chest height. We want the shoulders to drop down as the hands lift up. 2 and 1. And rest. That was letter T. Moving right along, we're going to go into coordination. The elbows bend at your sides. We're going to find a height for the elbows that's not back so far that it causes the shoulders to pop up. We want the shoulders to still be able to rest back. We want to feel the collarbones able to open, the ribs able to sink in. We're going to keep the elbows at a steady place. The triceps are already really working even before we bring the legs into tabletop. Being really thoughtful of not rocking toward the tailbone as we extend the arms and the legs, and bend the arms and the legs. The elbows stay at the same height. We're just extending the forearms and the lower legs. Last time. And rest. And finally, for our lats and abs series, we're going to do some circles with the arms. We'll bring the arms up toward the ceiling again to that same start position that we've used for all of the arm strap work. We'll bring the legs up into tabletop. And then we'll circle the arms. Then we'll switch directions with our circles. Arms up toward the ceiling. Rib cage gathered and in place. Legs up into tabletop. And let's take it out and around. And rest. That completes this lats and abs series. We can stick the straps on the pegs, and then we'll change our spring weight for foot straps. For foot straps, again, you have options. I often go for a red and a blue spring for the majority of students starting off. What I'm looking for, and there are some days where it would be more appropriate, even in my body, to use less spring weight. Because what we're looking for is there to be more of an equality of effort in the up and the down, unless we have specific goals in mind that would cause us to change the spring weight. But for a general exercise, we're looking to have a balanced effort in both the lifting and lowering of the legs. And so we want to give ourselves the right amount of support for that to be true. We'll come into the foot straps. We want to go into the foot straps by pressing the legs back to straight against the bar first. Then we go in one at a time. We bend the knee once we have the foot in the strap and hold that leg bent to support the weight, and the spine back on the table to bring the second leg up and go in. I don't always remember to coach those stages in students, but it really is sort of a precarious thing. And if you'll start with good habits and instill in your students good habits of getting into and out of the foot straps, you'll be grateful that you have them. So beginning in the foot straps, you want to get nice and centered. We'll take the legs out long. We want to be resting in an imprint. You can move toward neutral spine for these exercises once you feel like you've established a nice steady relationship in your core. But at first, it's probably a better idea to start off with imprint in the foot straps. Nice long spine, looking for ribs being popped up. We want them to be on a smooth plane relative to the hips. We're going to be watching especially for rocking of the pelvis toward the tailbone as the legs go down. We want to keep our range of motion in check so that we don't do that. We're going to exhale down and inhale back up. Exhale down and inhale up. There are times for other breathing techniques. There really are, but when we're establishing the core and just first getting accustomed to holding the pelvis steady, probably exhaling on the lowering of the legs is going to give us our best case scenario for neutral effort and not rocking into hyperlordosis. Good. And we'll bend the knees. Staying established in your spine. We'll exhale the legs out and inhale in. Last time. And we'll take it into Pilates V feet. We're going to exhale the legs down and inhale up. Good. And let's pull it in to turned out frog. And stretch it out and right back in. Last time. Then we'll take it into some circles. We'll go down through the middle and out and around. Last time. And then you'll switch directions. Last time. Very good. Coming back to Pilates V. we'll go into a Peter Pan exercise. In Peter Pan, we still want to stay centered. So we're not rocking onto one hip or the other. It can take a bit of coordination and practice to get there, but we're bending one knee and extending the other leg to the side. We want the thighs to be fairly matching in their angle. Then we'll come back together in the center and open to the other side. Thighs somewhat matching in their angle. And back. All the while centered in the pelvis. Good. To finish up our foot strap work, we'll let the arms rest down by our sides. We'll bring the legs back. It's okay if your buttocks curl up away from the table, but you want to draw roundness into your whole spine. So you're not straining against this stretch and staying in neutral. You're going to let the roundness come into the full spine. Then we'll come down in a diamond shape and stretch it out and through. Down in a diamond shape and stretch it out and through. If you want to give it a try, you can bring the legs back, pressing the arms down into the table, rounding through the whole spine, feeling that stretch connect all the way up. You can raise yourself into the straps for short spine. Bringing the legs down, rolling the spine down. Bringing the heels toward the seat and stretching the legs out. For a finishing stretch, the soles of the feet can come together and you can open into a diamond shape, letting the pelvis get level. And we'll come out of the straps. And that completes the most basic repertoire. We'll, of course, add on other things soon. But that practice alone, at least twice a week while we're in the training process.